In 1951, there was a town in southern Utah called St. George. Population, 4,562. It sat 137 miles downwind of a patch of Nevada desert the government had just purchased for testing. Nuclear testing. The residents knew about it. The Atomic Energy Commission had held town meetings. Officials stood at podiums and explained that the tests would be safe, controlled. The radiation would dissipate before reaching populated areas. They had charts. Some residents asked questions. Most didn't. This was the Cold War. The tests were for national security, for protecting American lives. People went back to their routines. On January 27, 1951, the first bomb detonated. The flash was visible from St. George, brighter than any sunrise. Windows rattled in their frames. The ground trembled beneath people's feet. Children ran outside to watch the mushroom cloud rise into the desert sky. Teachers brought students onto school lawns to witness history. Some families held detonation parties, gathering on hillsides with picnic blankets to watch the blasts. The Atomic Energy Commission encouraged this. They released photographs to newspapers. Atomic tourism, one headline called it, progress happening in real time. Hours after each test, something else arrived. Dust. Fine, white dust that settled on everything. Cars, rooftops, playgrounds. It looked like snow in the desert. Children played in it. Ranchers watched it accumulate on their cattle. Nobody told them what it was, because what it actually was, were particles of plutonium, strontium-90, cesium-137, and iodine-131, radioactive isotopes with half-lives measured in decades. But the Atomic Energy Commission had assured everyone it was safe. The tests continued. Every few weeks, another detonation, another mushroom cloud, another layer of dust. Between 1951 and 1962, the United States detonated 928 nuclear devices at the Nevada test site. 100 of those were atmospheric tests, explosions that sent radioactive material directly into the air. Wind patterns carried that material northeast, over St. George, over Cedar City, over Fredonia, Kanab, Enterprise, and dozens of smaller communities across Utah, Nevada, and Arizona. The government had meteorological data. They knew which way the wind blew. They had radiation monitors. They measured contamination levels. They classified the reports. In St. George, life continued. Janet Gordon ran a diner on Main Street. She served breakfast to miners and ranchers starting at 5:30 a.m. Her daughter, Sarah, was 9 years old. Sarah collected coins and played hopscotch with friends after school. In 1955, Sarah was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. She died 14 months later, age 10. Janet kept asking doctors why. They didn't have answers. Leukemia was rare, they said. Sometimes these things just happen. But it wasn't just Sarah. Down the street, another child developed thyroid cancer. A teacher at the elementary school was diagnosed with breast cancer at 31. A rancher's newborn had severe birth defects. Families started comparing notes. Quietly at first, then more openly. Something was wrong. By the early 1960s, the pattern was undeniable. Cancer rates in southern Utah communities were climbing. Leukemia, thyroid disease, bone cancer, rates that couldn't be explained by chance. Residents started calling themselves downwinders. They wrote letters to the Atomic Energy Commission, to their congressional representatives. They wanted answers. The official response was consistent. There was no proven link between the testing and the illnesses. Correlation is not causation, government scientists explained. Many factors contribute to cancer. More research was needed. So the downwinders did their own research. They documented every case, every diagnosis, every death. They created maps showing clusters of illness. They collected medical records. In 1979, a group of 1,192 people filed a lawsuit against the United States government. They weren't asking for much. They wanted recognition, an acknowledgement that the government knew the tests were dangerous and proceeded anyway. They wanted the truth. The case went to trial in 1982. It lasted months. Expert witnesses testified about radiation exposure, about wind patterns, about classified documents that showed the Atomic Energy Commission knew exactly how much radiation was reaching civilian populations. Documents that showed officials had debated whether to evacuate towns during particularly large tests, and decided against it because evacuation would create public panic and jeopardize the testing program. The tests were more important than the people. In 1984, federal judge Bruce Jenkins ruled in favor of the plaintiffs. He found the government negligent. He ordered compensation. The government appealed. It took 6 more years of legal battles before Congress finally passed the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act in 1990. The law provided $50,000 to individuals who could prove they lived in affected areas during the testing period and developed specific cancers. To qualify, you needed documentation, proof of residency, medical records, death certificates. Many of the people who had filed the original lawsuit were already dead. Janet Gordon received $50,000 for her daughter Sarah's leukemia death, 35 years after Sarah died. The government's own studies, declassified years later, estimated that fallout from Nevada testing caused between 11,000 and 212,000 excess cancer cases nationwide. The ranges are wide because the data was never properly collected, because the monitoring was inadequate, because protecting the testing program took priority over protecting the people. Today, St. George is still there. It's grown, actually. Population over 95,000. There's a memorial now. A small one. Most people driving through don't know it exists. Some of the original downwinders still gather. They're in their 70s and 80s now. They share stories about friends who aren't there anymore. About siblings, parents, children. They talk about watching those mushroom clouds rise, about catching radioactive snow on their tongues because nobody told them it was poison. The government has never formally apologized. The Radiation Exposure Compensation Act is set to expire in 2024 unless Congress reauthorizes it. History remembers the Nevada test site as a triumph of Cold War science, a necessary program that kept America safe. It remembers the mushroom clouds, the technological achievement. It rarely remembers Janet Gordon serving coffee at 5:30 a.m. while her daughter was dying in the next room. It doesn't remember the families who believed their government when they were told everything was safe, who stood on hillsides and watched the sky turn white, who trusted that someone somewhere was protecting them. The explosions are in the history books. The people who stood beneath the fallout are footnotes, if they're mentioned at all. Hey, if this story hit different, subscribe. We're just starting out, and every subscriber genuinely matters here. Comment below. What forgotten story should we cover next? I read everything. I'll see you in the next one.